Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton and our very, very special guest, Miss Nana Visitor. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and we are honoring Nichelle Nichols right now. How you folks doing today?
Excellent. How are you?
Yeah, doing well.
Awesome. And I also forgot we do have another guest, Mr. Luciano.
Oh, yes. Always in the picture. Just to keep him quiet. Just a control.
Lucky Luciano.
Yeah, backed by popular demand.
It kind of sounds like a fire alarm when he gets going. I thought the smoke detector was on or something.
Yes, a fire alarm. His other thing is to laugh just like me, which is kind of creepy. Because I do sound a little parody when I laugh, I realize.
Oh, wow.
All right, Cirroc, your job is to make her laugh so that we can...
I guess so.
To get him to laugh.
Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit before the recording about Nichelle and the impact that she's had. Personally, I think she's at least in the conversation of most impactful actors in the last 60 years, or even figureheads. Like the impact that she had and the influence she had, I don't think can be understated or overstated, I should say. Did you ever get a chance to see the original series, Nana?
Oh, yeah. I watched it as a young woman. I'd be getting ready to go to work on Broadway, and it played just before I left. So I'd eat dinner and watch Star Trek and then go to work. And Nichelle, I mean, people can talk about lots of aspects of why she is so important and the role she played. But for me, seeing a woman dignified, capable, doing a job that we didn't normally see women do, really made a difference to what I thought I was capable of. You'll hear women all over say that about Nichelle. And she was a woman, but I didn't see her pandering to anyone's idea of what that meant. And that was extremely empowering, just that alone.
Yeah, I've been around her, and I've had the pleasure to see her in so many different times. And without a doubt, every single time you're in her company, there's this radiating grace. She has this energy that is rich and just powerful. She carries herself, as you said, with dignity and this class and respect. She has such respect for herself, and that causes you to have respect for her, in how you deal with her.
Yeah, you get the sense that this is a woman who questioned who she was and what she was made of, and came up with some answers. And when you meet her, it's someone walking on earth who knows who she is.
Absolutely. So much strength in that. And, it reminds me, because I think of Avery and being asked many times about, how he is who he is. And I remember him talking about his parents and how we are brought up in our household when we are young. Our parents reflect on who we are in a lot of ways. And what it shows me, in the case of Nichelle, is that she was brought up with, with good parents that made sure that she understood self-worth and understood that she was, going to be an impactful person in life, and that her voice mattered, because that's what she became, this impactful person who wasn't afraid to break these barriers.
Yeah. And let's not forget, so talented. I saw a movie she made, I don't know how many, and it was something about Alaska. And I didn't know she was in it. And so it surprised me. And there she was. And she was so good. She's such a good actor. I think sometimes people forget that part of it, that she's really good, a good actor.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to note, because a lot of times, I mean, a lot of times people might think, okay, well, she was added, because Gene wanted an African-American female, or he liked her look, or there was something that he wanted, but it wasn't just that. I mean, she had quite a few episodes that kind of centered around her, and much more so in the movies. And it wasn't just, placing actors and, okay, I want a Scotsman here and an Irish guy here and a whatever. It was,
right.
She belonged, and she was part of the 7-person crew as much as anybody else. And there's actually a very quick story about when Leonard Nimoy found out that she was not being paid as much as the other actors. He brought it to the higher ups' attention and immediately had that changed. And he didn't just do that to be a nice guy, but it was because they were all equals.
Because it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's
So
wrong.
wrong.
They're all
How about
equals,
that?
and they were all great, and there's nobody that should be paid any less than anybody else. Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to start thinking of her as an icon and forget that she was a creative force as well. She did a lot of things for a lot of people, but she was also really good at her craft.
And one thing that I would like to highlight is, which we saw you, Nana, do a lot of with your character as Kira. You held your own in a male-dominated environment. And we've got a tradition of male-dominated environments throughout history. And what Nichelle did as well was keep her ability to hold on to her strengths as a person and hold her own in this male-dominated situations with these very fine actors on the other side of the lens looking at her and holding her own, not giving an inch, getting her point across, making herself heard. And I think that's important too for women, just having that kind of example.
I'm so glad you said that, Cirroc, because I was thinking about that. I was thinking about her and knowing we were going to talk about her and trying to imagine how hard, how challenging that must have been for her. We tend to look at someone who goes through that and go, wow, they're so strong. But you know what? It's sometimes really painful to walk that line at the time. Looking back, you can go, yeah, wow, she's an icon for that. But back then, it must have been a daily struggle.
It had to have been. I think of what Jackie Robinson went through when he was going through breaking the color barrier in baseball and having to not be embraced. And I can only imagine that Nichelle, at the time of it happening, may have sought, there was resistance out there from the public. There was some people that didn't want to see,
of course,
a woman standing there talking. What is she doing? She doesn't have any input. This is let the guys handle it type of mentality. And on top of that, being a Black woman, what does she know? And so there's all of these barriers that she had to break, not only with just being a woman, but being a Black person. And so having to overcome those things and still being able to hold your own amongst these really talented people, not only actors, but men, and give it right back to them as hard as they're punching at you. That's what you did as well, as in my opinion, watching you on DS9. I love the way you punch back. I love the way you make your voice heard. I love the way you stand up and be strong. And it's this example of strong women, which is, it's a beautiful thing to see on television.
Thank you for including me in that, Cirroc. That means a lot. And it wasn't easy, as I've told you before. And I can't imagine, how it is on a set. It's once you're comfortable, it's so much easier to put yourself in that place of creativity. But to feel like you have to defend yourself and get into that place of creativity, it's quite the act. It's amazing what she did.
And acting, just for those people that don't know, it is a competitive environment in which you're performing. So, when somebody is trying to, when somebody's giving a killer performance, it's on you to deliver one back.
Yeah.
And it is this friendly competition where we're both trying to achieve the best quality of work.
It's like tennis, right?
It's like tennis, yeah. So
you want to send the ball back.
Exactly. And so it brings out the natural competitiveness in us. So when you, as a performer, are standing there toe to toe with some heavy hitters, and you're punching back just as hard as they are, and it's a brilliant and beautiful thing to watch. Strong, powerful women that deliver their performances and don't give up any ground. And I think Nichelle was just awesome at doing that, as well as your character, Kira.
Thank you. Well, she was certainly an inspiration, and one of the people we all the women in Star Trek are standing on her shoulders. Absolutely. No doubt.
And it's true that, I mean, what makes it even more unbelievable is that she broke through two very powerful glass ceilings, being African American and being a lady.
Yes.
At the same time, in the 60s.
In science fiction.
I know, where it's all a bunch of white nerd guys like me.
And no, that women are sexualized to a certain degree in science fiction. Let's face it.
Or
especially
marginalized, and their voice doesn't count.
You're right.
The guys are handling this. The men got it. We don't need.
Right.
You going home and cook and do whatever you're supposed to do, your duties. But this is actually a cohesive understanding of strong, powerful leadership, which makes Star Trek wonderful, because we get to see these different dynamics, and they're not afraid to take the risk. That's one thing you have to credit the producers, the studios, for not being afraid to take those risks and take those gambles and put those iconography out there. And so I commend CBS and Paramount for hiring Avery Brooks, or for hiring Nichelle Nichols,
right?
For hiring me, for hiring you, for taking the chance to invest in people that are going to make strong decisions, strong choices, and they're not afraid to put that kind of imagery out there. So I think they deserve credit as well.
Well said.
You guys proved them right, is what you did. They put you on the stage. They put you in a place to do what you do, and you proved them right, and then some. So that's
And another thing that's consistent about not just what we see on screen, but the people we see when they're off screen in their lives, is the same kind of way that they carry themselves on screen is the same way they carry themselves in life. And I just want to highlight that is an intrinsic part of who you are, Nana, and who Nichelle is as a person. That part of it is not an act. That part is an intrinsic part of who you are as people. The act is the performance and the deliverance of it, but the strength of who you are, the grace in which you carry yourself with, the class and dignity, those things are intrinsic on who you are as a person, and they flow into the character, not the other way around.
Thank you. You know something else I learned from her? And you had to deal with this too, is in our show, the end of the world or end of some world was happening every week. And how do you deal with that and be a professional? This is your life's work. This is what you're doing. You're dealing with, like a soldier, you're dealing with massive death or massive destruction, and you have to go on and fulfill the mission. And I thought she did that so brilliantly. I always felt that it was going to be okay, because Nichelle was so in control is the wrong, I don't mean that, but ready to deal. Ready to go, okay, this is what's happening. This is reality. And now we've got to do this,
The composure. Absolutely.
The composure.
That's the
composure.
Yeah.
That's it.
That gave us a sense that it was going to be okay.
Right.
that somebody was out there fighting for us, that somebody was out there thinking of the right solutions on behalf of the common good. So
Right.
that gives us the confidence on the
That's right.
receiving end.
That's right.
Yeah.
That someone is not just reacting, but responding to life.
Yeah.
And right there's a lesson for life that she gives.
Right.
It's so much more effective to respond than to react.
She's such a tremendous value for the franchise.
Oh my
and
God.
has
I mean,
carried
it's
the-
endless, isn't it? And
she's
the
carried the torch so
inspiration,
wonderfully. Yeah.
the inspiration for people to become astronauts and to go into space, and women to go into space, all the people that she inspired and really got involved in. You know, she really got involved in it.
Absolutely. I encourage everybody to go back and listen to her interviews, listen to what she says, because it's all laced with golden nuggets. It comes from a genuine place, and it is who she is. She is a wonderful person. I haven't heard anything bad about her in the 25 plus years that I've been associated with this franchise.
Nope. And gorgeous.
Nothing but good things said about her. And beautiful. I mean, inside and out.
Inside and out.
Yeah.
You know, I did want to go right back to a quick point, Nana, you made that I hadn't really considered, but you're right that especially back in those days, sci-fi, women were highly sexualized. And even, you know, Gene Roddenberry, for all of his good traits, also had a few foibles, and it especially came, I think the biggest criticisms of him were, you know, when it comes to women and the womanizing and the scant clothing. Do you feel, Nana, that you and Terry were probably the first two Star Trek actresses that were doing characters that weren't hypersexualized? Because even Nichelle, they put her in a skirt, you know, and in the Mirror Universe, she was even in less clothing, and then in Next Generation, first couple episodes, you know, it was highly sexual for the ladies, especially in the Naked Now, whereas when you and Terry came on in Deep Space Nine, there was none of that. She was a respected science officer, old man. You were a tough as nails military type.
Well, there was some of it, more than I would have wanted. But what balances it all for me is that we were sexual beings, but we also had this whole other life. You know, I had careers in spirituality and interest and passions outside of, you know, physical passions. So certainly I was, my character was depicted as, you know, a full sentient being rather than, just two-dimensional.
Sure.
But, you know, we all were given padding in our bras, and we tried not to have it, but no, that was a dictum that came down. We had to be padded. We had to look a certain way. Our bodies had to look a certain way. And then as we went along, it certainly changed. And my pregnancy, my body did not look a certain way. They didn't take care to photograph me in a way that you didn't go, oh my God, she's put on 60 extra pounds. You saw it. And I kind of liked that. I liked it. I mean, I didn't like it at the time, but I went, no, this is good, because not every woman just drops a baby and looks like, you know, she never had one. Some women put on weight. I put on weight. That's my body. So there was, certainly there was an acceptance of that. And I've got to give them credit for that too.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing I would add is that, you know, when we look at people, for example, across the spectrum, in the reference of men, you would say, oh, well, LeBron James is a basketball player, or so-and-so is a general, or such and such is, you know, a studio executive. We don't really qualify them by their sexuality and how they're how they are sexual, right? But we do that with women, and they have to be these sexually, visual spectrums. So I think what is important for what you did, Nana, was you did that. You made us see you as this freedom fighter, this rebel without a cause or with a cause, and
with the cause,
and that's with a cause, and that was who you were. It's like that's who you are, not this this sexual person or this really attractive woman, which you are attractive and you can be sexual if you want to, but that's not going to be the thing that defines you the same way it shouldn't define LeBron James or Warren Buffett or anybody else that we talk about. They should be defined by what they do and the passion that they have for the things that they do.
Yeah,
and
definitely I think not Warren Buffett.
Well, yeah, well, exactly, or a lot of people.
I know.
But we respect these people for what they do and what they're good at, and that's what you did. We respected you for being Major Kira, a great major, and that's what you're good at, and that's what we saw you as, and that's a tribute to how you played the role.
I like that. What you're good at. What are you good at? Do you feel, Cirroc, that Nichelle was able to overcome that short skirt and show what she was good at?
Absolutely. Because when I think of her, I don't think of her butt.
Right.
I don't think of her breasts. I don't say, oh, wow, she had a nice butt in that skirt. That's not what I think about. I think about the performance she gave. I think about how she held her own against William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, and how she overruled decisions in certain aspects when it came to critical moments, because she had a better sense of logic than these guys who were trying to figure out the solution. So she had courage. She had a voice, and that's what I respect her for. The fact that she was beautiful is a plus. It's always a plus when somebody's visually attractive to look at, but that's not what defines us. That's not
what she was good at.
No.
And that's exactly why we're still talking about her 50 years later. I think that's why not only are we having this conversation, but everybody is 50 some odd years later, is because of what she did, because she wasn't just, a lady in a short skirt, but because not only did she break a lot of barriers symbolically, but she belonged there. She held her own. She was an equal, and she excelled at what she did. That's why she's such a huge part of every conversation today still.
And wasn't there an incredibly unbelievable man who recognized it at the time and told her, no, you must keep doing this?
Mr. Martin Luther King Jr., yes.
I mean, that alone is an incredible story.
That shows you the impact of what that representation means to an entire demographic of people. That's how important it is for them to see a positive role model. Mm-hmm. That's how important it is to see somebody speaking eloquently and intelligently. That's how important it is to see somebody carry themselves with grace and class and not be flaunting their goodies. That's how important it was that it came up on Martin Luther King's radar. And he even said, keep this going. This is what we need. I'm watching. We're watching, and we're thankful for that. And like I say, the same can be said about a lot of people that have broken ceilings and taken the chance to stand up for an intelligent, articulate point of view, somebody who has self-respect. And that goes a long way. When you have respect for yourself, once again, people will respect you.
Yeah.
And for those of you at home, most Star Trek fans know the story, because it is quite possibly the greatest story in the history, the 53-year history of Star Trek. But I believe it was after the first season, Nichelle was planning on, or at least very seriously considering quitting. And she had a gentleman by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. that spoke with her and said, don't you dare quit, because it's not just a job. Like, what you're doing is bigger than just this sci-fi show, And, obviously he was 100% correct. And obviously she recognized that. And so she changed her mind and went back to work. And it's just such an incredible story. And we all, I mean, now we look back and we're like, yeah, of course, don't quit, you know, but back then, I mean, she wasn't able to have that kind of perspective. She was doing a job to the best of her ability, and it took somebody like that. I mean, that's huge.
Oh my God. Yeah, but, and how right he was,
Yeah.
The effect has been unbelievable that she's had on so many women, men. She's changed minds and hearts and dreams. Now, when you start to change people's dreams and what they think of as a possibility for their lives, then you go into a whole other territory, right?
Mm-hmm. Like what she did for Whoopi Goldberg. She
tell me about that.
Very quickly, in a nutshell, and I think I have the quote correct, and I mentioned this to Cirroc before, but when Whoopi was a little child watching Star Trek on the TV, probably black and white, and she sees Nichelle playing Uhura, and I believe her mom was in the kitchen or something. She was somewhere off, and she said, "Mama, get in here quick. There's a black lady on TV and she ain't no maid." And just, I mean, it's cute, but it shows you how powerful that was. That like, apparently that's all there was out there at that time for, you know, African-American actresses. And she says that from there, you know, that fully and completely inspired her. And that's also why she ended up being on Star Trek Next Generation, because, you know, she became a big actress and she said, "I want to be on Star Trek." And Star Trek said, "We want you on here." And so they created a character for her.
It could not have been easy for her, for Nichelle. It could not have been easy. I mean, just Whoopi Goldberg's statement, what you realize what she was up against. Oh my God. Can't imagine.
So we do have to run. We went a little over, but that's because I was watching Luciano on your shoulder scratch his ear, and it was really cute.
That's the cue. He's ready to cut.
He's like
cut.
But it's the little Carol Burnett thing. It's time to go.
Oh, did you see her on the Golden Globe? She still looks as great as ever, by the way.
She does. She looks
By
terrific.
the way, another woman who really was strong and
trailblazer,
and just an amazing trailblazer during her time.
Here's a little piece of
I used to watch that show.
On Carol Burnett. She likes her cosmopolitans very light. I didn't know what that meant, and she means as in very light on the cranberry juice, very light colors, all vodka. Light colors, all vodka with a lime, basically.
Good for her.
Really, that's good. Really, yeah, she's old school. She can say whatever she wants.
So before we go, Nanad, do you have one final thought or memory or thing that Nichelle said that really stood out?
What stood out is what Cirroc said, that every time I spoke to her, it was as if she had taken me in and kept me in her heart and was able to access that place every time she saw me again. It wasn't like, "Oh, what show were you on?" or "Who are you?" or she knew me. She knew my name. She knew my eyes. I felt seen by her. You know what? I think that's one of the most important gifts anyone can do for you, is to make you feel seen. And she has that gift. And I can't wait to celebrate her even more.
Yeah, she has that gift of giving you her undivided attention and really just...
It's like talking to your grandmother. To me, that's what I felt. It's like your grandmother coming in and telling you something. It's like, oh, okay.
Caring that much.
Yeah, it's like that much love, you know. I want to give you this. You need you need to know this, you know.
Well, everyone's really lucky that they get a chance to see her, that she's doing this farewell tour and that they can experience her before she retires. I think that's great because we've had the experience and it's pretty wonderful.
Yeah. What a great note to end on. Well, thank you so much for joining us once again, Nana, and thank you to Luciano.
Yes,
very
you bet.
gracious.
He's he's allowed me to have another relationship and talk to other people other than him.
What a giver.
For this small amount of time.
Thank you, Luciana.
Bye, guys. It's always a pleasure.
All the best
Okay.
to you. Thank you very much. And for those of
Bye
you
now.
at home, always remember the 7th rule.